All-Star Weekend looks like highlights and parties on TV, and in person is power rooms, brand influence, and the future of the league unfolding right in front of us in real time. The biggest takeaway, the NBA is shifting eras right in front of us. Let's talk about what we actually saw. Welcome back to the winning formula where culture, competition, and mindset meet at the highest level. I'm your host, Tarai Bionic Brooks.
I'm Devin the Lab.
This podcast is about performance, pressure, and perspective, right? There's no better there's no better real-time lab than for NBA All-Star Weekend. This year, I wasn't just attending, I was moving around from Nike to Grove, Meta, Snapchat, Nike and Ballislife, the dunk contest, State Farm, Celebrity Game, Antiplezi, All-Stars, everything. The game itself, when you move in so many rooms in one weekend, you start to see patterns. You see who's positioning themselves and where the league is heading. Dev, before we get into all the basketball, what's your overall read on All Star Weekend this year? And from a distance, what you saw and what stood out the most?
I think the main thing is we got what we wanted, right? In terms of the All-Star game, because people don't want to actually watch the All-Star game when they're not playing hard. And if you're not giving effort like you do in the summer at Rico Hines and all these other places, like nobody wants to watch that crap. But
Thanks.
they did. And the format was great. And I don't think that it was so much the format as much as it was like somebody came out and started playing hard. That player was Wemby, right? He wanted to smoke. And that's ultimately what makes it. And then you have moments like Damian Lillard, who just showed up, popped out, and won a 3-point contest after Achilles tear. That was the last time we saw him. So, the fact that he did that was pretty dope. And then the dunk contest, you know, people are starting to think you got to get rid of it now. I don't think that you have to. I think you need some star power. I think you need some creativity. I think you need some grit, man. Like just get up in there and just play, like dunk. I heard stuff like they were trying to get Matt McClung out of there. If he dunks, I'm not participating, which is like crazy to me, right? So because like at the end of the day, the sport is about competing. I get it though. There's a lot of factors. We talked about this on the other podcast. So many dunks you could do. People are still creating them though. So they get
Yeah.
for the most part what we wanted, and I was happy about that.
Yeah, Dev. And Damian Lillard came straight off the couch, like you mentioned, and won the 3-point contest. He's been prepared for his moment, doing a lot of different things. And All Star Weekend was amazing, but busy. Every hour was structured. I was at Nike The Grove for a minute. I went to a meta session as well, working on developing their products and figuring out how we can improve some of those things. I did some things with Snapchat. You're big on Snapchat now too, Dev. A lot of people need to tap in with that and with you over there because you got some really good content. I went behind the scenes for the dunk contest as well and saw a lot of those guys practicing, getting right, getting ready to perform at the highest level. And then I got a good opportunity to team up with State Farm and do some hosting too. So I was really excited about all of that. Like for me, the biggest thing was scaling, right? I think the NBA is now starting to scale. It's bigger than just a sports league right now. It's a full cultural engine. And we had a lot of cool things that we were doing with Ballers Life. Even we had a couple of events, went to Crenshaw High School, did a cool, activation with them, put on battlegrounds, and then we also went to Shoot 360 and doubled up. So the guys in the 1v1 space right now are playing a lot of basketball, bro. Like they're hooping it off the dribble events, Ballers Life events. We had other, basketball brands and platforms out there doing things too. So we're pulling guys from everywhere. It's a huge cultural thing with the NBA All Star Game. Whenever you go to a city and they put on an All Star Game, you see the city transform. We already have crazy traffic out here in LA, but All Star Weekend traffic is on a different level. And from your perspective, does All Star Weekend still feel like a basketball event first, or is it more of like a culture and a business now?
In the space that we're in, it doesn't feel like basketball for me first. And honestly, the last All Star break or last All Star weekend was, in my opinion, a step in the right direction to where it felt a little bit more like it, like we're going to basketball events. And that's kind of like one of the things that I wanted to talk about. Like, let's make it about basketball. It's not. I'm
Yeah.
not worried about celebrities. I'm really not, and I understand why brands might be. But if we focus more on the basketball, I think all the other stuff will flock. The celebrities, all the other stuff will come together. But if we put basketball second, the thing that got us all here is just like to me, that's not going in the right direction. And I don't really care as much, to be real. When it comes down to like March Madness and different sports, that's what I watch because of I don't watch the Super Bowl for the commercials. Now that's a plus. I watch because of the action, because of the game. I don't watch because of the halftime show. And the same thing goes for the NBA. I grew up in LA and I would see, a lot of focus be about the celebrities. And I understand that side of things. But, you know, my dad always told me when he watched the Showtime Lakers, the show was the Lakers, and Magic Johnson and getting up and down the court, high speed action. So not even to talk too long about that. I wanted to be more, I wanted to get more back to that about the main product because everything else that follows after that is going to be big, especially when it comes to the one-on-one space. Like these guys ain't making millions. So like, let's get it to that point by focusing on what? The sport, basketball.
Exactly, Dev. You talk about it, right? Like, I think celebrity culture, in a sense, is really dying. You have so many different access to celebrities. We talked about it earlier this season with Freddie Gibbs as well. And he talked about if you're seeing a guy every single day on IG doing different things
Not
and
special.
you're not seeing them as special anymore. You have so much access. And then when they drop music or something that's really their art and what they do and what they're passionate about, it's kind of diluting the worth of the craft, right? So we talk about it, right? When we talk about basketball, we got to take away the celebrity. We got to take that out of it. And the talent's got to be elite, right? The competitive edge is going to be what keeps people talking about the game. And the game has to feel meaningful again. So like you said, that's going to keep the conversation going. And this is a conversation everybody is having. Let's talk about it, right? The league keeps floating the idea of having 1v1 or 2v2. And from my perspective, I think that is going to happen eventually, right? Like, but it's not going to happen and be meaningful until the stars take pride in competition again. You can have so many different people playing into this game or this 1v1 thing. And we've seen it with Unrivaled. Some of the top stars are now playing 1v1 basketball, which has everybody watching and talking about it. And like you said, the dunk contest earlier, if we can get that star power back, everything else becomes more possible. What do you think, Dev? Do you think it would be beneficial, or would you want to see stars actually do a 1v1 tournament? I know you're a 1v1 master. We call you Kakashi, bro. Like, you definitely are a good teacher of basketball and teaching people how to get in their bag. But would you want to see stars actually do a 1v1 tournament? And who would you like to see and who would you trust set the tone first?
Well, I think that if you started doing the 1v1, 2v2, you develop on the side a different division of basketball. Like they have 3x3. So it doesn't need to start with the stars, in my opinion. I think if you would have started with the guys like Jamal Crawford, if you would have started with the Bones Highlands, with the Lou Williams, like if you'd have started with those type of guys that are like maybe not the superstars, but they're still looking to build. They're really good at ISO, and you put them out there, you would get some really good games. But if not, I even start with the younger players. Like those guys got so much time left, and this is, in my opinion, to create something that would to be the originator, to be the starter of something and get ahead of it is there's something special about that because now if you play that and you become popular, like I was talking about Mac McClung. Mac McClung made more money in the dunk contest than he did playing in the NBA or playing in the G League. So, like, imagine what will happen, if you become like the 2v2 or 1v1 guy. I think it just would allow you to make more money, become like a more household name, so that when you get back to
Facts.
the fives, people are demanding that you play. So that's where I'm at with things. And I, in terms of even going back to the 1v1 space and on YouTube, right? I wouldn't even, if guys don't want to play, I just go build with the younger guys that are like really trying to make a name for themselves because you're going to get good games. That's just what's going to happen. And the more that you get to see somebody, the more you build their story and the more they become popular. We're actually seeing that happen right now, with a few guys. So, that's where I will focus it, and, because I know that they're watching. I know that the NBA guys some of them want to be in the 1v1 space, but they can't. Like, or they want to do it with the NBA, but they can't. Maybe because of what an agent thinks, or like a coach or owner. They don't want to risk the product. But the thing is, you'd be making an even bigger product, with the 1v1. You can get hurt walking outside of your house. You know what I mean? Like, you can get hurt
Talk
from
about it,
doing
Dev.
silly,
Talk about it.
so like
Yeah,
you might as well just do it. Like,
yeah.
if you're gonna get hurt, you're gonna get hurt. But like 1v1, you don't normally get hurt anyways.
I couldn't agree more. I think a lot of guys are more narrative focused, right? They're focused on what the narrative is going to be if they go out and play 1v1 and things don't necessarily turn out in their favor. But as you mentioned, this can build a even bigger infrastructure as far as what we're looking at in the 1v1 space, basketball space. And it can really help like your trajectory, your brand, your stock tremendously because we're seeing right now a lot of people are vying for like viewership and trying to get the younger audience, right? And what the younger audience wants to see is who's really a bucket, right? And I think that that will do a lot of good things for a lot of different players, maybe young, a little bit older, who maybe found themselves out of rotation, or even they're playing that game with like tanking. Tanking is a huge thing in the NBA right now. So you got some guys who aren't even getting the playing time they deserve because teams are more focused on their draft stock and position rather than playing to compete at a high level. So giving the guys an opportunity to get on the court and play at a high level and show what their bag is really about, I think that that's really important. But next up, Dev, I really want to talk about the real bags, the big bags in the NBA, the guys that are doing everything for their team right now. Let's talk the MVP, man, right? Like, I think when we look at the MVP in the league right now, it's in a very like moldable space right now as far as who can shape the next MVP or set the standard or set the tone to become the next face of the NBA. Right now, of course, Jokic is still setting the standard. He's still like when you look at his stats and how he performs, he's going to be one of those names you look at, but he has to stay on the court, right? He's looking at things from an efficiency standpoint, his impact on winning, and like his advanced metrics are always going to be in his favor and put him near the top. When I look at it, right, I look at him always leading the race, but my favorite right now this year is Cade Cunningham.
I
I
was
feel
I
like
was
he's
here to say that.
yeah, he's pushing into that conversation. He has his team poised at the top of the league right now. He plays on both sides of the basketball. He does a really good job of facilitating offense for his team, rebounding, scoring points, like his usage, his leadership, and his team trajectory. I feel like we should put him in that conversation. And another name I want to throw out there is Jalen Brown. He
Oh,
also
man,
deserves a
you read
mention
my
right
mind.
now, and he's on a winning team, right? So right now, if the season ended today, Dev, who's your MVP and why?
It's too hard of a question to answer. Like, I don't have. It's easy to go with Shea or Jokic, right? Like, those are guys that you've been seeing in the category. But I'm looking at the standings. Detroit is in first place, and I value winning. And they have sit there. Denver has 36 wins, and Detroit has 42. I look at Boston; they have 37. Now, I even look at like guys like Wemby. He's been out, so they've been
Yeah,
winning in spite of Wemby being hurt. But I love the idea of making Wemby the face of the league, but it's
love
all
it.
about who deserves it. And there was a question at a time: who was better out of Jalen and Tatum? And I don't even know anymore. I just
Still
think
a
that they're
question.
just both super valuable. I don't know if Tatum would be doing the same thing had Brown
Mm,
been hurt, but
okay.
it is what it is. And I'm looking at how I'm looking at it, and I'm just looking like, man, this dude, he might be the most valuable player in the league because who could lose? That's actually an interesting thought. Who
Yeah.
has lost their what's considered their best player and then went on to still be able to do what he's doing? And you know what's funny?
Hmm.
A name that immediately comes to my mind. I want to see if
Talk
you
to
could
me.
take one guess and guess.
A name that
It's super
comes to
easy too.
mind.
Huh?
It's
Yeah.
super easy. Are we talking historically? Are we looking
Historically.
at historically from a historical one player that sticks out to me is Scottie Pippen.
I was just yeah, exactly. Michael Jordan
Scottie
left
Pippen.
and they went to the did they go to the championship?
They went deep. They had one of the top, top records in the league at that time. Michael Jordan was, out of the question. And yeah, like you mentioned, Scottie Pippen stepped up and did his thing for that team. But what's the point that you're making with that one, Dev? What you want to illustrate
Because
there?
because there's not that many people who could lose a player like that and still be able to do what Jalen Brown is doing and in the way that he's doing it. And a lot of people would have wrote them off. They lost Porzingis, they
Hmm.
lost Tatum.
Yeah, Al
Is Holiday
Horford,
there? Like they lost some players.
Holiday. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the fact that they lost players like they did, and he's still doing this thing on both ends and low
Hmm.
key kind of carrying the team, and that says a lot about the role players. That says a lot about him, and that says a lot about the coaching, in my opinion. But he's way up there to me. But I value winning more, and I'm thinking about Cade, Jokic. But if I had to pick, it's for me, it's I can't. I really can't because it's just such a close race, and it's just good. What about you?
Oh wow, wow! You gonna put the spot on me? You gonna duck
Well,
the
you were a Detroit
question?
fan, so
How
you were
you
going
how you
Cade.
go how you gonna duck the question and then throw it back at me? But
And
no, I mean
I'm an honest guy.
that's an honest answer, right? Like I think the reason why you're ducking that question is still early to say, right? But based off of what I've seen from the Detroit Pistons, I have to put Cade Cunningham, leader of that MVP race right now. He has them at the top of the league right now at this point, right? I
You're a
think what
Detroit
he's
fan,
able to do.
though.
I'm not just saying that because I'm from Michigan, man. You see the legends in the back here. I like good basketball, right? But you can't deny what he's doing for his team. Like
No,
there,
you can't.
without a doubt, nobody expected the Pistons to be in a situation in a position that they're in right now. When you're really looking at their record, their ability to play on both sides of the ball, their defense has been at the top of the league. And Cade Cunningham is at the helm doing a little bit of everything at his size, shooting the ball the way he's shooting it this season, distributing it, and facilitating the offense the way he's doing. Like there's when we talk about two-way players, I got to give a big shout out to Jalen Brown, right? But K's also in that conversation. He's not a player that's ducking smoke. He's blocking dunks at the rim. He's contesting everywhere. Like this guy really means business, and he's saying it. And he's walking in his interviews, he's talking about it, right? He's saying, I think I'm the best player in the league. And he's going out there dropping 40 points to get the New York Knicks. Like, come on, bro. Like, a guy playing with that much swag, aura, poise, and grit, like, I have to put him up there at the top right now. And we know what Jokic does, right? Like, but at the same time, I can't help but notice just sometimes he just doesn't seem like he loves the game. And you got to reward a guy who
You're
is
talking
giving
about
his
horses and stuff.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like he's sitting there and like it just doesn't seem like he cares. You got a guy like Cade Cunningham going into the All-Star break, playing in an All-Star game, playing at a high level, after his team has performed in such a like great fashion in the first half of the season, and then you come off of that and you drop 40 against the Knicks. Come on, bro. Like he's locked in. He's so locked in right now. But again, I think when we're looking at it right now, that takes me into the next conversation. The face of the league conversation. The face of the league is shifting. We got some big names that we got to mention when we talk about the next face of the league. Anthony Edwards is one of those. You got to think about Victor Wembanyama. Cade Cunningham is also a person you can't forget. SGA, and then somebody that you might forget about because of the way that the Celtics are playing right now and because he's injured is Jason Tatum. Like it might not be one face anymore of the league. It might be a group, but if you had to pick one player to represent the next era right now, Dev, who are you choosing?
All right, so before I answer this, who's the face of the league in football?
Face of the league in football right now, I would say right now, Patrick Mahomes.
Okay.
I would say Patrick
I would
Mahomes.
say Shohei for baseball, right?
Yes, 100% Shohei Ohtani. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm gonna lead the NHL route along because I just know about a few different players that are really freaking good. But Soccer. Who's the face of soccer in your opinion?
What is it? Is it Messi?
Okay, let's just stop there. So
Is he
now
playing
in
in Florida right now?
basketball, in my
Go ahead.
opinion, like I think that it's better to have a face. Right now, we look around, we don't see a LeBron besides the LeBron that we have, and he's a little older. Let's just be real. We don't have a Kobe, we don't have a Jordan. But there's also something special in that, in knowing that it's kind of up for grabs. But I'm kind of seeing something around the league where it's like guys don't even necessarily want that face of the
That
league
title.
title.
Yeah.
I think I heard about Anthony Edwards kind of speaking about it and saying like, "No, y'all got Wimby for that," and you want Edwards to want that. I know he thinks that he's the coldest of all time. I think that's great. I think it's got to show up against guys like Shea, or when he plays against Cade, or he plays against people that are around his age or in his class. You know what I mean? But if you're going around and just thinking about like who would you want, I want Wemby to be the face of the league. One, because he's
Yeah.
like an alien. He's so freaking tall. He can
Facts.
move like a guard. He can dribble. He can shoot. And then, but most importantly, I think that guys would like that bring the Cade mentality and bring the Jalen Brown and Victor Wembanyama mentality, like especially Wemby. I
Yes.
think that's great for the sport in terms of
100.
smoke. I think the sport was
Yeah.
built on that, right? You think
Yep.
about Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, guys who did not like each other, and it was due to the times you didn't have social media where you could just DM each other if you had a problem or you wanted to hash things out, or you would see each other at every little event. They didn't do that, from what I understand. And now,
100.
you know, they kind of grew things based on a rivalry, and people were able to gas it up in the media. And so, like, I value that type of stuff. I remember stories where Wimby played against the Ignite team, and after I talked to a guy, Cam Young, who played on the Ignite, and he was just like, "Oh yeah, it was." I was on the bench. It was like watching 2K. Like Wimby was, you create a tall player that can move you up all your sliders. They said
Yeah.
it was like that, and there was a step back that he hit from the wing on Cam, and he was like, I didn't even think he was going to shoot it. So I got a call from Pooh after that out, and I was like, just ask him about him. He said, "Oh yeah, he's the real deal. He's going to be one of the best players of all time." And just hearing that, you know, I was just like, man, that's cool to hear. And then there was a whole thing with him and Scoot. And Scoot, I think they asked Wimby something about like who the number one pick is, and he said what he said. And I think that for me, that's great to hear. Like, that's great to hear that he was really trying to say, like, oh, Scoot's good, but he ain't me. You know what I'm saying? Like, well,
Yeah.
you lit to hear stuff like that. You can't wait because now I'm keeping up with the storylines. I know the media can't wait for like the next rivalry because now they got something to write about. And I think that a person like Wimby, who comes out in the All-Star game and gives effort and he gets the best out of Kawhi. Like, or
There we
he
go.
gets we
Yep.
get the best version of Kawhi because of what Wimby came out with. And it's like, bro, that's the type of player that you want representing what you're building.
Without a doubt, without a question, you hit the nail on the head. A guy coming out and setting the tone. Anthony Edwards came out and said that in his post game interview. Wemby set the tone. I had to follow up. We had no choice. I talked to the guys, and we got to go out there and get this work. We looked at it. We saw that. He also came out recently and said, "Hey, I might be in the dunk contest, and you never know from what he did in the game, bro. Like that double pump windmill that he just pulled off. Like, I think it's going to be a guy like him stepping into, being at the face of the league and being at the forefront of everything that really is going to change the dynamic and the trajectory of how we see the face of the league. And like you said, the way he plays the game is just amazing, right? Like he is so skilled and he impacts winning basketball at such a high level. The league is clearly transitioning, and you can feel it right now. When we look at contenders right now, we have a lot of different teams vying for that top spot in the league right now. We got OKC, we got Denver, San Antonio is building, right? And they're making their way up. We just talked about it with Victor Wembanyama and their ability to win with him off of the floor. And then also we have Detroit Rising. You know me, I love the Michigan, love the Pistons. Shout out to the D, man. Championship teams usually rank in top 10 in both offense and defense by playoff time. That's the pattern, right? Which team do you think in a 7-game series will be able to win and make it to the championship? So, what team do you trust the most in a 7-game series right now to win the NBA championship, Dev?
Okay, see, and I say that which is crazy because they can't be San Antonio. I I don't really trust anybody from the East Coast.
Mm,
Just to be real with you, it's been a long time since I felt like that was the most dominant division, I just,
yeah,
or I should say
conference.
conference.
Yep.
But out of the East Coast right now, I mean, I trust K and Detroit
Yes.
more than I trust the New York Knicks or
Yes.
Boston, who doesn't have their second or first best player, whatever you want to say. I just can't see it other than Detroit.
Yeah.
But I just think it's cool because it's up for grabs on the in the East Coast, the
No
Eastern
cap.
Conference. So
You got
that's
that.
that's like a great thing because there's something special about not knowing who's gonna win. Like March
Yeah.
Madness. You just don't know a lot of times, and that's why you hear about those Cinderella stories where teams are come out of nowhere and just go on runs. And I feel like this is the year for something like that to happen. But in the NBA, it's 7-game series. And with 7-game series, the best team wins. It's not you can't go 7 games and the best team doesn't win. There's sometimes where it's just like, dang, I wish I could go 2 more games to a 9-game series, but it is what it is. You normally get the best team. So kind of like my whole thing on that is like I trust the Thunder to get to the championship and potentially win it. But man, them Spurs, they got so much firepower over there. They got so many guys that want to play defense, and they have a great mixture of vets and young players to where it kind of feels like OKC,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
You got DeAndre, no, De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox is like he's doing a good job, especially through the majority of the year, kind of leading and being that vet for them. You got Wemby, you got all those guys. Like there's just like a lot of young guys that are really good, and it's kind of refreshing to see like the change of the guard, right?
Yep.
OKC been running the league for the last few years, and they won the championship. So now I would love to see them get another one because I think dynasties are great for basketball, but if San Antonio wins it, now we get to start pushing that narrative of, all right, the best big man of all time. Let's start getting in that category if you win, be right.
Oh, he's talking spicy. Yeah,
Let's
Wemby
get
has the
there. Let's get them
opportunity to
there.
be there, right? Like, and you talked about you touched on it. They got Penny, Dylan Harper. A lot of the young players over there at the Spurs really mean business, and we're seeing it with the OKC Thunder as well. If I have to look at it from my perspective, only teams I trust right now in the 7-game series, OKC Thunder, and you already know I'm rocking with the Pistons. I got the Pistons right now in a 7-game series against anybody. The toughness, the depth, everything that they bring to the table is right on par. They went out and destroyed the New York Knicks recently. While Cade had 40 points, they didn't have two of their starting big men, Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Durham, who was also an all-star, was out of the lineup. So that just showed me that it's the next man up mentality with that team, and they have a very good future ahead of them. Let's hopefully they can take it deep into the playoffs and hopefully win a couple of those 7-game series. But when you think about these teams finishing the NBA season, we talked about it. Teams are tanking. You said it. March Madness is right around the corner. Cinderella teams, all these different things we have going on. But I want to talk about this draft class that's coming up, bro. Like, is this the best freshman class ever?
Well, it's up
If
there.
you're
I'm just such a AJ fan. Like I just think that he has so much potential. But it's crazy that you could think that so many players can go number one had they been in any other draft, and it really is a big difference in money. And this
huge,
matters. When you're the number one or the number five or the number seven pick, to have this many guys that could be in that spotlight, you got to be excited if you're a bottom feeder. You got to be excited because you're going to get somebody that's so good coming to your franchise. But even going back onto the tanking topic, it almost makes more sense now more than ever to tank but miss me with it. Like I can't stand like just submitting defeat. Like, and you know what? I'm just gonna be bad for the rest of the season. I'm not even gonna compete. We're gonna sit guys and ice them out so that we can get these college guys. And
We're gonna sit guys in the
some
fourth quarter.
it rubs me the wrong way. I just don't like it. But I think that as much as I disagree with some of the stuff that's in college basketball, look at the guys like the age, like some guys are like 29 in college or whatever. Look at the guys that the best players, look how old they are, and so
Yeah.
I think that it's almost time. It's hard for me to say this. Is it time to get rid of the one and done? Because especially with all the money that these guys are making in college, that they could do another year, develop more, and be that much more ready for NBA basketball. And I say that because normally guys go to the NBA 1 year out of college, and they don't really have that big of an impact. So I see value in guys staying for a little longer, developing, and immediately being able to carry the team. And you'd be surprised. I'm a skills developer. You'd be surprised mentally what 1 year difference can make for especially the guys that are in here. But I don't want to hold on to that. I know you want to talk about some of the guys, but that was just one of the things that
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wanted
No,
to know.
you got to talk about that, right? Like the sense of maturity that they have when they're stepping to the league. Is this the best freshman class ever? No, I don't think so, but it is solid. We have Cameron Boozer in this draft class, AJ DeBonsa, Darren Peterson, Caleb Wilson, just to name a few. If you're talking to me right now, I'm gonna lean a little bit more AJ or Boozer long term. If I'm looking for a franchise guys right now, out of this group, who do you believe is going to be a franchise player first? If you're asking me that question, I
AJ.
really think AJ
Yeah,
off
AJ.
the rip is going to be one of those guys. And when we're looking at Darren, I don't think that he should sit. I've seen reports about him sitting the rest of the season and trying to really focus on his draft stock, but I don't think he should sit the season. I know that there's been some questions as far as his involvement,
I don't
how
like hearing
often he's
stuff like
playing,
that,
things
man.
like that. But his draft stock right now is going to be all about availability and winning. So if he wants to, rise his draft stock, it would be wise for him to see the rest of the season out and make a deep run into that March Madness. And when we're thinking about some of these quick hitters in the March Madness Final Four, I got my Final Four picks right now. I'm ready to throw them out there, Dev. I hope you're ready. Final Four for me, if you asking me, I got Michigan State. I'm a Michigan guy, Arizona, Arkansas, and UNC. I do want to say it out there. It all depends on what type of regions these teams fall into, because I have actually five teams, because I have Michigan State, Arizona, Arkansas, UNC, but Duke is also up there for me as far as the five teams that can make the Final Four. If you're looking at the Final Four, Dev, what teams do you have in your Final Four?
Is a good question because I don't know because I've been watching all these games and they've been flip flopping back and forth, and especially when it gets to conference play. It's funny because when you were talking about Boozer, and not even to jump too much off the topic because I don't want to cut you off, but like Germ is one of the kids that I trained. He plays for Stanford, and they played against him. He had a good game, but he was just like, bro, listen, it was nothing we could do with Boozer. Like he was just too much of a force. Like you didn't feel comfortable driving to the basket. Even when he was guarding you, he could slide a little bit, and even if you get him a little separate, you get some separation on him, he can still block the shot. They say he was a monster, and I remember people talking about Carlos like that, Carlos Boozer. So it's really hard to bet against a person who has a low post or a team who has a low post threat that's mobile in that sense. He can
Yeah.
pass, he can rebound,
Yep.
he takes up a lot of space. So for him, I just can't wait to see how that translates because I remember a lot of people questioning with Carlos, but like he translated pretty well. And that's a guy
Very
who
well.
played with Derrick Rose and this and that and the other, but he translated pretty well. And I think that his son is better. Straight up, I think he's better.
Nice, nice. I could agree. The skill level of a lot of these players right now is blowing kind of the old school out the water, and we're seeing it now with the next wave of stars. Man, Dev, I really appreciate it. Yo, one last thing before we go real quick. We got the Toronto 1v1 scene heating up. We're going to Toronto. We have some big games on the match and on this we got some big teams, some big matchups, some tough matchups right now in this 1v1 scene that's about to get serious out in Toronto. If you had to pick the toughest 1v1 matchup in our group, or who do you want to see, what are your thoughts right now in the
It's
1v1
funny
space?
because it's like 4 days before we're still putting together matchups, but I made it very clear. I want to say something. I made it very clear that I want our guys to be challenged, right? Like, there's no fun in it for me if our guys are just steamrolling through everybody, and that's cool. Like the fact that they're winning games against people, but I want the city's best. And so when we go to Toronto, we got a list of guys that are going to play. I want to make it very clear, like, come with it. And if you do win or lose, if you come show what you can do, you'll have a space on this scene. I'll make sure of that. But if we're just getting guys that are just kind of like happy to be there or whatever, we got Nas. We're bringing Nas on the first day. You need to understand that Proving Grounds is the first day, and then Battlegrounds the second day. Proving Grounds is where we get the city's best and see who's capable of playing onto the Battlegrounds. And that could be we're only going to pick 3 players to make it to the city with a sub, so 4. So it's going to be Ballislife versus Toronto, and based on that, it's kind of like the old and one mixtape feel, where you pick one or pick a few guys to make it onto the bus. Well, you make it onto Battlegrounds, where it's going to be heated, and we have a championship 3 days, after the first day of Battlegrounds. So we'll see. I've been working really hard with a bunch of the Ballislife staff behind the scenes to make sure that this is legendary. We got a lot of people pulling up. So if you're in Toronto, make sure you pull up. If you guys know MK, he's coming through, especially on championship day. And we need the country, the city,
Come on,
to represent. And
come pull up on us.
but hey, look, wins don't come easy on this side. We got a lot of good players that know how to play on the scene, but it's really just about being good. So let's see what y'all do when we get there.
Let's see what y'all do when we get there. 1v1 is going to reveal your mentality. It's going to reveal your will to win. It's going to be no help, no system, just skill and will. So, again, make sure y'all pull up. Make sure y'all follow us at the Winning Formula. Dev, you're amazing, bro. The work that we're doing in this 1v1 space, make sure y'all keep supporting us and rallying around us, because it's only going to be bigger and better. All-Star Weekend showed exactly where the league is headed, and we're heading in the right direction here over at Ballislife. We have new faces rising, MVP races tightening up, the culture is expanding, the competition is evolving, and at the end of the day, the winning formula stays the same: elite skill, consistency, composure, and leadership under pressure. Appreciate you tapping in with us. More conversations are coming. This is the Winning Formula, where culture meets competition and mindset meet at the highest level. I'm your host, Tarai Bionic Brooks, and I was here with Dev in the lab. We're powered by Ballislife, and we'll see you guys next time. Make sure you subscribe. Peace. Watch it.